headlines for this hour on VTV News. National Assembly Chairman continues working trip in Laos. And breakthroughs made in disbursing public investment. In our world news, Cuban president in Iran for first time in 2 decades.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. The Politburo and the Secretariat of the Party Central Committee on December 4th jointly organized the National Conference on Popularizations and Studying of the resolutions released at the 8th plenum of the 13th Party Central Committee. State President Võ Văn Thưởng and Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính attended the event.
The hybrid conference, drawing more than 1.44 million delegates across the country, focuses on core issues and new features of the resolution, thus enhancing officials and party member awareness of their responsibility in implementing tasks set in the resolution. At the event, the state president, who is also a Politburo member, delivered a speech on continuing to promote the tradition and strengths from great national solidarity for building a more prosperous and happy nation. Politburo member and Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh delivered a speech on renovating and enhancing the quality of social policies to meet the requirements of the national construction and defense in the new period. Deputy Secretary of the Central Military Commission and Minister of Defense Phan Van Zong will highlight the strategy for national defense in the new situation, while Secretary of the Party Central Committee and Head of its Commission for Information and Education Nguyen Trong Nia will touch upon the developing and promoting of the role of the intellectual contingent to meet the requirement of fast and sustainable national development in the new period. Politburo member, Standing Committee of the Secretariat, Head of the Central Organizing Committee Truong T. Mai concluded the conference, emphasizing that party, committees and organizations at all levels need to learn from experience, regularly inspect, supervise, and urge the implementation of resolutions, so that the resolutions must come to life in the most practical way.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, his spouse, and a high-ranking Vietnamese delegation returned to Hanoi on Sunday, successfully concluding his trip to UAE to attend the COP28 conference, participate in an array of bilateral activities, and an official visit to Turkey. After 5 days and more than 60 activities, the trip yielded strategic results, contributing to affirming Vietnam's positions and prestige and mobilizing great resources to serve development.
At COP28, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh expressed concern over climate change happening every day, every hour, and approaching the red limit. With the motto of putting words into action, delivering on commitments, Vietnam has fulfilled its commitments with specific, practical actions, lauded by leaders of countries and international organizations at the event.
Developed countries must further increase support for developing and underdeveloped countries, especially in capital, technology, governance, and institutions. On the contrary, developing and underdeveloped countries must make more efforts with the spirit that no one can do better for them than themselves. Climate justice and equity also need to be maintained.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh also announced a resource mobilization plan to implement the political declaration on establishing a Just Energy Transition Partnership, JETP, between Vietnam and the International Partnership Group, making Vietnam the first recipient country in the JETP to announce such plan.
It's a very big step forward because it does detail all the different moving parts of energy transition or just energy transition in Vietnam. We love it.
The Prime Minister spoke of the 12 specific measures that Vietnam has rolled out since COP26. During meetings and conferences, high-ranking leaders of countries and international organizations called Vietnam a model in implementing commitments. Vietnam is truly considered by many countries as a model in climate change response.
on this occasion, the Prime Minister met with nearly 20 heads of state, leaders of countries, and international organizations such as the Cuban President, the French President, the Indian Prime Minister, the President of the European Commission, the Director General of the International Monetary Fund, and the Director General of the World Trade Organization. He also held many bilateral activities with both the UAE and Turkey. The sides reached various agreements, opening up a new period of comprehensive, extensive, substantive, and more effective cooperation. This working trip by the Prime Minister marks his second time in the Middle East within nearly 2 months, with the first to attend the summit between ASEAN and the Gulf Cooperation Council, demonstrating the interest and priority of the Vietnamese party, state, and government towards the very potential market. The Prime Minister's activities during the working trip have affirmed Vietnam's commitment to joining hands with the international community to address the global issue of climate change with specific and result-oriented steps and actions.
In the recent COP28, a number of important results were achieved at the conference, conveying Vietnam's messages and reflecting the country's responsibility and commitments to sustainable development and climate change adaptation. This has received great attention and been praised by the international community.
COP28 is taking place in the context that 2023 is set to be the warmest on record, and climate change is causing severe consequences around the world. This makes COP28 the largest in COP history. Vietnam's participation in this year's conference reaffirms the country's strong commitments and efforts in responding to climate change.
Prime Minister Chin's attendance at COP28, together with 130 other heads of state and government, is really important, and it shows Vietnam's commitment on an ongoing basis to this energy transition, to the net zero goals, and to our shared commitment to climate. Vietnam, as we know, is one of the more climate vulnerable countries in the world. So this is an important commitment for all other countries to support Vietnam and countries in a similar position.
At the conference, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh conveyed strong messages, calling for the international community to strengthen solidarity and make greater efforts for the prosperous development of humankind. His emphasis on narrowing the gap between action and commitment shows Vietnam's determination to contribute to common global goals.
Prime Minister Chin in his speech, clearly say there is a gap, between the commitments and actions. Well, I couldn't agree more, and I think we really should work on that. It is a task for everyone in the country, for every ministry. Resource mobilization plan, I think they showed they're really committed. But here as well, as Prime Minister Chin said himself, they're putting words into action.
The 12 practical solutions that Vietnam has implemented since COP26, including resource mobilization for energy transition, have been well supported by the international community.
It reflects a great deal of work by Vietnam and also by the G7 partners on the framework for investment that will support the JETP going forward. But that represents just the start of this process. While we're not members of the JETP, we strongly support its objectives, and we're committed to providing substantial grant finance to assist Vietnam to make this transition and also to incentivise private investment.
In addition, Vietnam's participation in multilateral cooperation initiatives aimed at opening up new cooperation opportunities on energy transition and green growth also shows the country's commitment to join hands with the world in dealing with the climate crisis.
The Vietnamese National Assembly is ready to provide maximum support for Laos in order to successfully take on the role of chairmanship of ASEAN and the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly (IPA) in 2024. This affirmation was made by National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ during talks with his Laos counterpart Saxophone Phombihan on December 4th in Vientiane. At the talks, the two sides informed each other about the situations of their respective nations, the cooperative relationship between the two countries in recent times, and shared several results of the 6 sessions of the 15th Lao National Assembly and the 15th Vietnamese Legislature. The two sides have continued to regularly maintain high-level visit, meetings, and cooperation mechanisms on all channels, including many exchange and collaboration activities between the two countries' legislators. They have closely coordinated to create a favorable legal corridor for the two governments to implement side agreements, strengthen ties in monitoring the implementations of bilateral joint agreements, and accelerate the implementations of projects between the two countries. National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ met with General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Laos People Revolutionary Party and President of Laos Thongloun Sisoulith on Monday in Vientiane. At the meeting, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ suggested that the two countries coordinate closely, implement high-level agreements, and prepare well for meetings of senior leaders and the 46th meeting of the Vietnam-Laos Intergovernmental Committee. For his part, General Secretary and President of Laos Thongloun Sisoulith called for appropriate policy mechanisms to promote trade and investment to connect the two economies. He hopes that Vietnam will continue to encourage its businesses to expand investment and business in Laos. The two leaders affirmed continued close coordination and support for each other at global and regional forums, especially at the UN and ASEAN. On the same day, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ met with Laos Prime Minister Son Sai Siphadon. At the meeting, Laos Prime Minister emphasized the visit contributes to cultivating friendly relations, witness special solidarity, and comprehensive cooperation between the two countries. For his part, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ affirmed that the National Assembly of the two countries will closely coordinate, continue to create a favorable legal corridor, and coordinate supervisions to effectively implement the cooperation agreements between the two governments. The two leaders emphasized promoting and strengthening connections between the two economies, supporting and creating favorable conditions for Vietnamese businesses to invest in Laos. The National Assembly Chairman affirmed Vietnam's readiness to provide maximum support for Laos to successfully take over the role of ASEAN Chairman and IPA Chairman in 2024, thereby helping to strengthen Laos' positions in the regions and the world. Also on Monday afternoon, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ visited former General Secretary and President of Laos Bunyang Volachit and former Prime Minister of Laos Thong Sinh Thamavong. More in the following stories.
National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ expressed his joy to meet comrades and close friends of the party, state and people of Vietnam. Respectfully sent to the former senior leaders of Laos the cordial greetings and good health wishes from General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng, State President Võ Văn Thưởng, and Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính for their support to the comprehensive development of the great friendship, special solidarity, and comprehensive cooperation between the two countries. National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ appreciated the great domestic and foreign achievements gained by the party, state, and people of Laos over the past years. He believed that under the leadership of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, Laos will overcome all difficulties and increasingly develop independence, self-reliance, and prosperity. For their part, former senior leaders of Laos thanked Vietnam for its valuable support and asked the two sides to continue cultivating the special friendship between Vietnam and Laos.
Earlier, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ witnessed a signing ceremony regarding comprehensive cooperation between the low-cost carrier Vietjet Air of Vietnam and the national ally of Laos, Lao allies, right after his arrival in Vientiane on December 4th. At the ceremony, the opening of a new air route connecting Vientiane's Laos capital with Ho Chi Minh City was announced. The new route is expected to serve passengers 4 route flights per week with a flight times of about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Vietjet's new route will contribute to promoting trade, tourism, and cultural exchange between the two countries, producing more good results in the traditional and long-term relationship between the two nations. On Monday, the coastal and border forces of Vietnam and China had a number of exchange activities, enhancing security and border protection capacity.
On Monday morning, a Vietnam Coast Guard vessel docked at Changzhou port, starting an exchange program with the Chinese Coast Guard in Guangzhou City. During the visit, the delegation of the Vietnam Coast Guard will conduct joint patrols and exercises, as well as a number of cultural, artistic, and sports activities with the Chinese Coast Guard.
At the talks between the Vietnam Border Guard Command and the National Immigration Administration, Ministry of Public Security of China, the two sides agreed to continue coordinating to implement the signed cooperation agreements, exchanging information related to fighting crimes, especially cross-border crimes, high-tech crimes, terrorists, anti-government crimes, and drug crimes. They also agreed to promote reform of border gate inspection and control procedures.
Coming up next on VTV News, breakthroughs made in disbursing public investment. And Vietnam masters Singapore laparoscopic cyst removal method. Welcome back to VTV News. Many ministries, central agencies, and localities have recorded breakthroughs progress in disbursing public investment entering the fourth quarter. Public investment disbursement now has reached 65% of the plan assigned by the Prime Minister. This figure is 7% higher than the same period last year, equivalent to $5 billion.
With careful preparation and favorable conditions, the construction project on a lateral road connecting Hai Duong and Hương Yên province is speeding up. It is confirmed that the road will be opened this year, which is 8 months earlier than planned.
We have mobilized the maximum number of machinery, equipment, and human resources to speed up construction at all sites.
Despite belonging to the group with low disbursement progress in the country, Hương Yên recorded major breakthroughs in quarter 4, surpassing the national average disbursement rate. The province is now speeding up the disbursement of the allocated $494 million of public investment this year, which is 3 times higher than last year.
Site clearance is the most important step. We can speed up the entire process and ensure timely a disbursement schedule if site clearance is ensured.
As of November, 10 ministries, central agencies, and localities reported a disbursement rate of over 70%, with some already reaching the 100% mark. However, there is quite a gap between the top and bottom of the disbursement groups. This calls for responsibility and determination from local leaders.
We have established working groups to help address the investment bottlenecks in meetings and provide an assessment of work efficiency to our staff.
Public investment disbursements have grown by 23% this year, which creates immense pressure for ministries, branches, and localities. However, the government is determined to disburse at least 95% of the plan this year, while also addressing bottlenecks in the legal aspects, one of the main factors that affect the overall disbursement progress.
Within the framework of the COP28, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, signed a letter of intent to finance $500 million for VinFast Auto to promote the development of electrified transportation. To receive the grant, VinFast will undergo comprehensive assessments on many criteria, including being a Vietnamese enterprise with solid economic financial capabilities, complying with DFC and local requirements regarding development, environmental and social impacts, compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, and many other criteria. The funding depends on the evaluation results of projects establishing VinFast lithium-ion battery research, development and production facilities in Vietnam. The event affirms the two sides' commitment to sustainable transportation development while actively contributing to the Vietnam-U.S. Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. The Vietnam medical sector has made its name internationally for having mastered the removal of cysts in children using the single-port laparoscopic surgical technique. Just recently, an Australian family can finally feel assured their child has been cured of a common bile duct cyst after having surgery in Vietnam.
This 4-year-old child is on her way to full recovery after surgery for a common bile duct cyst. Thanks to the single-port surgical technique, only a 2 centimeters incision through the navel was made, leaving practically no scar.
We're very, very happy with the decision because, as we understand, there was some complication with this, and I'm so grateful that we've come to you to help us, because we don't know what might have happened if we went somewhere else with less experience, and how would they handle this in these times. So we've made all the good choices. Yeah, so we're very happy at the moment, yeah.
The single-port surgical technique is very beneficial to the patient as it is less invasive, thus leading to quicker recovery and minimal aesthetic impact. So far, this hospital has executed 300 surgeries using the technique, with only a small complication rate.
As we don't have the means to purchase specialized tools that are bendable and jointed, we can only use regular endoscopic tools. The surgery only requires a small incision, resulting in practically no scars, which is very beneficial for the patients. We are also developing this technique to be used for other diseases as well.
So far, the Department of Pediatric Surgery of St. Paul Hospital is one of only 2 centers in the world that can claim to execute this technique in child patients with good results.
The Bright Future Fund has received more than nearly $50 million to support cancer patients since its launch 1 year ago. Entering its 12 years, the fund has provided relief aid for over 34,000 impoverished cancer patients nationwide, with total amount of donation reaching nearly $50 million. The Bright Future Fund representatives have pledged that the fund will continue expanding its network across hospitals nationwide and providing aid and free medicines and screening to patients in the coming years. Coming up next in our War News, Cuban president in Iran for first time in 2 decades. An Islamic State claimed responsibility for deadly Philippine bombing. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel on Sunday arrived in Iran in the first official visit by a Cuban leader to the Parisian country since 2001. On this occasion, Tehran and Havana signed 7 cooperation agreements and memoranda of understanding in science and technology, health, agriculture, energy, mining, and communications. Previously, in June, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi traveled to Cuba in June when 6 agreements were signed. Cuba and Iran have maintained diplomatic relations since August 1979. Over the past 4 decades, both countries have consolidated cooperation in areas such as biotechnology, nanotechnologies, the pharmaceutical industries, and food safety. The Islamic State group on Monday claimed responsibility for a deadly bombing at a Catholic mass in the Philippines Sunday that killed at least 4 people and injured 50 others. The attack was carried out in a university gymnasiums in Marawi. Philippines security officials have suggested that the attack may have been retaliation for a military operations about 200 kilometers from Marawi City that killed 11 IS militants. After the bombing, police and the military strengthened security in the country's south and around the capital, Manila. The United Arab Emirates and several charities at the UN Climate Summit on Sunday offered $777 million in financing for eradication neglected tropical diseases that are expected to worsen as temperatures climb.
The pledges, made as the COP28 summit on Sunday focused on climate-related health risks, included $100 million from the UAE and another $100 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Others to announce funds for climate-related health issues included Belgium, Germany, and the U.S. Agency for International Development.
Changing weather patterns driven by human activity and the burning of fossil fuels is contributing to record numbers of cholera outbreaks. The threats to health resulting from climate change are present.
Experts and representatives of countries participating in COP28 have called for greater global efforts to protect people from increasing health risks due to climate change.
And what we are trying to do is to leverage the collective power of all the partners already working on climate change and health, plus all the member states.
With increasing surface temperature, the frequency of disasters will increase considerably. Thus, the World Bank launched a program to explore possible support measures for public health in developing countries, where climate-related health risks are especially high.
South Korea is set to report negative economic growth in 2050 if the country fails to reverse its accelerating birth rate decline, the Bank of Korea said on Sunday. The country's total fertility rate, the number of children on average that a woman aged 15 to 49 has during her lifetime, plunged to 0.81 in 2021. If the current trends continue with no resolutions, South Korea's economy will report negative growth in 2050 and its overall populations will fall below 40 million in 2070 from the current 51 million. The Bank of Korea said the main causes of the record low birth rate are tough competitions, difficulties in getting a job, high residential costs, and rising concerns over child safety. And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's it for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.